Hey everybody, today's guest is Yotam Ben Horin, bassist and lead vocalist for the Haifa, Israel punk rock band Useless ID. Together, we break down the fan-favorite song, State of Fear, taken from their 2005 album Redemption. Yotam mentioned that State of Fear was the band's first stab at a political lyric, inspired by a suggestion from NoFX's Fat Mike to write about what goes on in the everyday life of Israelis. The song is one of the catchiest slabs of melodic punk rock I've ever heard, and it's this lyric that really drives home the urgency of the track. Yotam credits producer Bill Stevenson with really pushing him vocally while in the studio, something that he feels made him the great singer that he is today. We talked about the grooves in this song, and I was not at all surprised to learn that the drummer on this track came from a metal background. You can really hear it in the performance, and it's something I feel sets the track apart from some of the band's contemporaries. And the harmonies at the end of this tune are absolutely unique and haunting, a perfect way to tie up this song. For all this and a whole lot more, don't touch that dial.
Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast. Hey, have you heard? Krista makes a podcast.
Yotam, how's it going?
Good, how are you?
I'm fantastic. I understand you're in Philadelphia, the city of brotherly love.
Yes, I am. But I'll be headed to the West Coast soon, so I'm kind of like jumping around at the moment.
That's cool. What's going on in Philly?
I have a brother and a father that moved here 3 years ago. Yeah, something like that. Yeah, exactly 3 years ago. And they have like their whole thing going with they're doing house flipping. But just came for a visit.
That's awesome. So they're swinging sledgehammers, you're slinging guitars.
Exactly.
Right on, man. Well, am I pronouncing it right? Is it Haifa, Israel?
Yeah, Haifa, Israel.
Haifa. You guys are from Haifa, and band started in '94. 8 full albums total, and the song we're going to talk about today is State of Fear, which was from a record you released on Kung Fu Records called Redemption in 2005. And I got a couple questions about this track I wanted to talk to you about. When you had recorded it, because I'm assuming you recorded this in probably 2004, because it originally was on the Fat Records compilation Rock Against Bush Volume 2. So this was recorded for the album Redemption, but you went ahead and put it on the comp, correct?
Yeah, at the time, Fat Mike was doing that whole thing, the whole Rock Against Bush thing, and he wanted an exclusive song. And Kung Fu, I mean, we recorded the album, but so we had all the songs already with the purpose of releasing. But Kung Fu were cool enough to just say, yeah, you should go ahead and give this song to Mike. And so Mike showed the State of Fear to the world first. And then it was released.
Which is interesting because, when you guys were doing the record, did you know, or did Bill Stevenson, who produced the record, anybody in the band know, or did he know that this song had a chance to be a song you guys were known for?
Not really. We actually came in with only 12 songs. It was a weird time. Like that's what I wanted to speak to you about. It was a weird time in Israel as well. Like the year 2003 was just terrible as far as suicide bombings and terrorist attacks. And half the time you're living in that world where you're kind of like, am I going to be alive today? Like, is it okay to go out? And then along with that, we're writing songs for a follow-up record. So
right.
So yeah, we... pretty much like a month before we came to the blasting room, we wrote 5 more songs, and State of Fear was one of them, and it didn't even have lyrics. I just knew the structure of it. So it was like another one of those songs where we're like, we'll figure it out at the studio. We have this thing going in the band where we sit around the table and just start throwing lyrics if I don't come in with anything,
Well, I got to tell you, this song's a ripper. It's one of the catchiest melodic punk rock songs I've ever heard.
Thank you.
It's awesome. And, usually bands, you got to remember, 2004, 2005, bands were still selling CDs.
Yeah.
And it's surprising that Kung Fu let this go on a comp. Because usually when you put songs on a comp, you're going to give them a B-side, or you're going to give them a live track or something. They always want an exclusive song, but you're not going to give them the meat and potatoes, the single or something. That's why I had asked if you knew this song was going to be something, or if you do give them a single, or you give them one of the more popular songs, you give it to a comp a year after the record's out. Because, Kung Fu, I'm sure wanted to sell albums. So this was interesting to me. That's why I wanted to bring it up.
Yeah, we've always had this kind of like connection with Fat Mike and Fat Records and NoFX. Pretty much before I started touring with the band, they met up Fat Mike at one of those clubs in San Francisco.
Bottom of the Hill, Slims?
Yeah, Bottom of the Hill. I think they gave him a demo tape, and then like this connection starting, and Mike, always throughout the years, he's like, you guys have to sing about what's going on in Israel. You can't just sing about your feelings, and and I was influenced by the pop punk of the time, so I was singing about like personal stuff. But this was like the first time we kind of like scratched the surface with politics, and when we let Mike hear it, he's like, that's the song. I want that song.
Not to take anything away from you guys. You guys are super hardworking. We Less Than Jake met you way back. I think it was the European Warped Tour in like 99 or 2000 or something like that.
In 2000, we had a few shows, I think, with the Vandals and the Ataris.
Right, that's what it was. Yeah. It was I remember playing Italy with you guys.
Yeah, and then there was that. Yeah, exactly. So I think we were a few shows in the States and then some European stuff. We definitely did some stuff together.
Right, and again, not to take anything away from you guys, but I feel like being on that Rock Against Bush comp, that thing was massive.
Yeah.
And I think that did nothing but help your cause, and that's quite possibly why State of Fear is one of your most popular songs.
Yeah, it helped for everyone's cause, because the thing we were thinking about while writing the lyrics, that this can't be like a one-sided thing. It can't be we're from Israel and we're showing how bad it, we tried to show both sides so anyone can relate to it, because there's bombs going off all over the place. There's bombs going off in Gaza. There's bombs going off in Israel. People are attacking people. I think that's like the thing that hooked probably our audience and the audience that we were exposed to through Rock Against Bush to that song.
So you said you had the music before you had the subject matter of it, but when Mike had asked you to write about what was going on, and you put pen to paper, and these lyrics are just striking. Talk a little bit about what that's like for the listeners of what people feel on a daily basis, having, as you said, to wake up in fear for your life.
Yeah, I have many American friends that ask me this same question. And it's like, think about it this way. If you're taking a bus somewhere, just somewhere random, so you're always looking at, this is like an instinct that you have in Israel. It's just like second nature. You don't really think about it. But when I tell it to other people, like you go on a bus, you look at every person that's on the bus and you see if anyone kind of looks sketchy, if anyone's kind of like, shaking or like intimidated, you kind of look for signs. Well, I try not to travel by buses if I don't have to, but that's just something that's like in the back of your mind. And with State of Fear, like a year before that, I'm sure Frenzel Ram.
Absolutely.
Label mates. They came to Israel. We did a few shows with them. And at the show in Haifa, there was this one girl that was in the front row just jumping and, singing our lyrics. She was like a big Useless ID fan. And a few days later, there was a suicide bombing, like in Haifa. And sadly, she was on that bus. And she passed away. So that, you never think it's gonna hit home so closely, but when it does, it kind of throws you off. So I think we all had that in our minds when we wrote down "State of Fear and Explosion" right outside my door, because it could either be that, or it could be on the other side of things. You know what I mean?
What is this like, being a world traveler and being in punk rock, where when everybody got into punk rock, one of the first things that I learned was that everyone's equal, that we treat everyone with respect. We go out on the road and there's no borders, there's no boundaries, and yet there are borders and there are boundaries in this world. That's just the fact of it. And I'm sure you've gotten letters from fans across your border, Palestinian fans that just want to be your friend, and that's got to be heartwarming and heartbreaking at the same time.
That's the biggest beautiful thing in punk rock. That's why I love punk rock so much. It's because once you cross the line and you're in a show and you're at a concert or you're with the band, everyone is equal. There's no, there's no bullshit. People of all race and color, and everyone's welcome, and everyone acts like one big family. We've had a few times during the years where you have like one smartass in the crowd starting to like heckle you and scream stuff, but every time we answered back, and we never answered, like in a harsh way. We just explained the situation, and you get a round of applause from everyone else because they know the truth. Punk rock, smart people.
Right. And, you said this song was one of the last 5 you wrote for the record.
Yeah. What
did Bill Stevenson think of it when you brought it to him?
All right, so this was the first time we were recording with Bill Stevenson and Jason Livermore. Was we just high and like just starstruck in our own punk rock way.
Right.
You know how it is. First time meeting Bill, so it's like, oh my God, he played in Black Flag and Descendants and all. But so we were just kind of going along with it. We left it to Bill. We didn't. There wasn't any special treatment to the song. It was just like another one of the songs that we had and we recorded. But I do remember that we did have, like, while the music was almost done and recorded, we were still fiddling with the lyrics. And Ishai, so he came up with the second line. Like I had State of Fear and Explosion right outside my door. Well, so he says, well, it seems there's a lot of profit to be made from war. And we're like, all right, let's go next. Kind of like that. Yeah, so I think because we didn't have the lyrical idea, I knew that the chorus would be the whole whoa, whoa thing because we never had a song like that. And we were like, let's make this somewhat anthemic. So once we had the lyric, that's when the song kind of took more shape.
Well, this song, the arrangement's killer. I can't wait till we get into it. It takes you on so many twists and turns with the groove of this thing. It goes through a lot of different grooves, but they all mesh together so well. The song's 3 minutes and 12 seconds, but it doesn't feel like it. It feels way, way shorter to me. When even on repeated listens, it sounds shorter. And you're in the studio and you're tracking this with Bill. Had you had time to demo it at all? Even like on a voice recorder or anything?
Yeah, well, now I use Logic Pro for these home demos. Back then, I think it was either Nuendo or Cubase or one of those things. I didn't really know how to program drums, and I didn't bother recording bass, even though I am the bass player in the band. So I would record like two tracks of the rhythm and like one track in the middle playing like octaves or whatever, like a middle part. And yeah, so that's what I had. Normally, I would have a vocal to go along with it, and then I would do harmonies.
Do you recall if the structure and arrangement of the demo was what you ended up recording with Bill?
Yeah, it was.
It was. Okay, so there wasn't too much changing parts around.
No.
Okay. Because I think it's perfect, and if you're able to share the demos, I know the listeners would love to hear it.
Yeah, I think I have it, but it's only a guitar and it's only 2 guitars. Going back to your other question, we did do kind of like a pre-production. Bill wanted us to go in like the first day and just go through the songs and then have me record vocals on them. So we did a live thing so we could listen back and listen with Bill in the kitchen, as you know, and kind of like take notes. So yeah, so State of Fear was an instrumental even then. We still didn't have the lyrics. It was just like, we know we want to record this song because we had a feeling that it would probably be one of like the most most important ones of the album, and it was.
You brought up something we've never talked about on the show just now, and I'm so glad that you did. I can't believe
what did I do?
You brought up that Bill had you go in and kind of just take a full pass of the song, and I've had producers do that because there's some magic when you're not thinking about it. It's kind of like the demo where you get demoitis, or you're like, there's a part in a demo that you or the band is like, this part can't change. It's perfect the way that it is. And, there's been times that I went into the vocal booth and done that, and we've ended up keeping lines from that take. Or not so much kept lines, but went back and went, hey, the way you did that melody or you enunciated that word there, I want you to do it again. It's a really good point.
Yeah. So yeah, one of the songs actually, a different song on State of Fear, I actually lifted the way I sang on a demo and we put it into the actual recording because I liked my voice better.
Well, there you go. Well, again, the song is 3 minutes and 12 seconds, and I want to jump into this bad boy, Yotam.
Let's go.
All right. So it starts off with a guitar panned off left for 2 bars. On the 3rd bar, there's an open hi-hat that happens, followed by stereo guitars, octave guitars, bass, and drums coming in for another 8 bars, leading into verse 1. And man, this part is driving. Right when verse 1 begins, we come in with this is in my notes, Yotam, dun, 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 and that's the drums and the whole band hitting on State of Fear, an explosion right outside my door. Well, it seems there's a lot of profit to be made from war. And I'm breaking this down in a way, I don't know if what you're considering the verse and if there's a pre-chorus, but this is verse 1, and I want to have you break down these lyrics real quick.
That was kind of like the catalyst for this song, to kind of give the outsider a glimpse of what it's like living in Israel. And it doesn't matter who you are, what you were born, what religion you are, just living in this small place that causes so many world problems. So I may have had that line when I was kind of like just humming to myself. I was like, one of those things.
And you said prior to this, I listened to your stuff, but this was kind of the first political thing. Why do you think you didn't go into this before Mike had mentioned it?
As a songwriter, I don't consider myself such a political person. I don't sit around and watch the news, and I'm not like fully invested in that. Like I have other things in my head and other things that interest me more. I know the world's messed up. I know Israel's messed up. I know, but I don't want to put my energy there. I see what it does to people. You're just anxious the whole time. You're just mad, and so I'm guessing like me from that many years ago. That wasn't my thing, Mm-hmm. I come from the songwriter's songwriting.
And I can completely relate to that. My band has never been political. We've always been about, having a good time. Leave your problems at the door, forget about it. Pretty much everything you just said. But I got to tell you, Yotam, this song, to me, it's the embodiment of everything. But this lyric, it had to be this. It hit so hard.
It had to be this lyric.
If this was about Saturday night, hanging out, partying with your friends or whatever, it wouldn't have the same impact.
And I think that's the beauty of us and Useless ID working together, because one of the guys he is very political. He knows everything that's going on. He's very outspoken about it. He's the guy for that stuff. So we all got together and we wrote this song. We felt that we're obligated to dive into this,
There's a couple things I love here in verse 1. The State of Fear, that's that dun 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 that happens, and then an explosion is hanging out over the guitars. It's just a vocal, and then that classic, I'm calling it the classic punk rock Fat Records beat, comes in on the word right, and it's just pummeling you. On the second line, on lot of profit, the octaves here are mimicking the melody.
Yeah.
It's super cool. Just for that one little part. How did that come about? Was that in the studio? Bill suggested it? You guys thought of that? Because it's awesome.
I have a feeling that that's kind of like my love for the Pixies. The Pixies always do that type of thing where you have Frank Black Francis. You have him singing something, and then Joey Santiago's kind of doubling him with a guitar in like a quirky way. So I always took from that outside world of punk influences into Useless ID. So I have a feeling that that's like one of those situations where it's like like kind of like let's push that. So I'm not sure that was a Bill thing.
In almost however many 100 Less Than Jake songs, I've never done that, and I'm going to steal it from you.
Please do.
And if someone asks me, I'm going to say I'm going to steal it from you, who stole it from the Pixies.
Yeah, please do, because who knows? I think we probably lifted some stuff from you guys over the years, so that's fine.
It's so cool. It's just like 3 or 4 notes, but it's so effective what that
It does something. Yeah.
Yeah, it absolutely does. This next part, Yotam, I'm calling it the pre-chorus, but this is like a chorus in itself. It is so catchy, this next part. What would you call this? An extension of verse 1?
In my head, it's a pre-chorus.
Okay, that's what I'm calling it too. We're already agreeing. I like this. This is good stuff.
When we all know the answers, one question remains. How did we end up this way?
When we all know the answers, one question remains. How did we end up this way?
You look at people just used to this hatred years and years and years, and it never goes away. Here we are sitting almost 20 years later. That's pretty much the same situation over there, the same world problems.
Well, it's a religious war. I don't know if you can ever solve that.
I feel like no one wants to get their heads out of their asses about it.
Right.
Like everyone's so stuck on their own religion and stuck on their own belief in gods and different gods. And I think we could all really get along if we kind of like step away from that. We don't have to do that. You know what I mean? There's some wonderful people in this life.
I've always said that. I said that there's way more good people than there is bad.
Yeah, that's why I didn't say the majority, because I have a feeling it's not the majority. The majority, there's many great people in this world and many great people, in our world of punk rock that I wish we would have a bigger influence on the whole thing.
Well, in this pre-chorus, we get a harmony on the how did we end up this way, but I'm calling it the Cincinnati harmony. And the Cincinnati harmony, I think that my bass player, Roger, made that up. He was recording this band, or maybe Matt made it up, our drummer. There's a band from Cincinnati called the Dopamines, and the Dopamines do these harmonies where they're in unison, but there's also harmonies within certain words. So that's what's happening here. It's kind of unison, but there is harmonies there.
How did we end up this way?
Was this worked out that way, or was it by accident?
So that's a Bill thing right there. That's what Bill calls the Unabomber, because it's like when you do a harmony and then you kind of meet up. So the instinct is to change it, to keep going the harmonies. Bill like, no, you're doing the Unabomber. Let's leave it, because sometimes it just works. It pushes out the vocal melody better than it where you'd have like a harmony underneath it. So that's Bill's credit right there.
Did you ever say, hey, Bill, it's a little sensitive saying Unabomber here with us. You know where we're from, right?
Yeah. No. Actually not, but I'll keep that in mind.
Well, that's really cool, though, that he picked up on that. He's like, no, run with it, because I love that. I think it's great. I don't think there needs to be an exact harmony on each word. I think it's perfect how that is. Right here at the end of How Do We End Up This Way, there's a dun, 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 dun with octaves, the whole band. And the octaves are pretty prevalent there. That leads us right into verse 2. And there's another hit of the full band, a dun, and then scream out loud. And then you get a big whoa-oh backing vocal.
Yeah.
Scream out loud! Let yourself be heard. The cycle's never ending. There's a lesson to be learned. When we all know the answers, one question remains. How did we end up this way? When conviction will break them apart. How did we end up this way?
Scream out loud. Let yourself be heard. The cycle is never ending. There is a lesson to be learned. And on this first line here, before you set up the lyrics, Yotam, it sounds like this line is actually doubled vocally there. Just that one line. Do you recall?
Let yourself be heard. The cycle's never ending.
Yeah, once again, it's probably Bill's thing, because Bill would have me sing a lot of takes back then. A bit lesser takes now, because I've become a better singer, or I'd like to think. But that was my first time at the blasting room getting my ass kicked. So I think when Bill gets a very good vocal take, he doesn't stop there. He wants to get another vocal take. And then, so he may use some words that he wants to highlight. So that was probably one of those situations, because I don't think I intentionally doubled it. But I think probably Bill was thinking, I think this should go out a bit more.
Right. And you know why you're a better singer now, to what you just admitted. And it's, you got your ass kicked. You know,
yes,
I can't
a
tell
few
you
times.
Yeah. I can't tell you how many times I had mine handed to me in the studio. And I've had producers, I'm not tooting my own horn, that have told me, and I'm not talking about my voice as some angelic or I got a great voice, but as a performer in the studio, I'm one of the best they work with because I learned. I mean, I got my rear end handed to me on numerous occasions, and you learn to get in, you learn to sing in time, behind the beat. You start to learn all these little things that you never heard before.
Yes, exactly.
And Bill's no slouch.
No. Bill, even the last record we did, he still had me singing, and I still get these like crazy headaches at some point. I don't know if you get them, but I just get these gnarly headaches, and then I try to sing through that. So you sing as much as you can or scream or whatever it is, and the second you stop, you feel like boom, like the head, it hits you so hard. You know, you're kind of like on the floor, and then you take a break, and then your head is kind of like chilled out from that. But once you hit that nerve again, it just recording at the blasting room.
I'm sick of feeling like a battery. The way you charge me up, the way you empty me. I guess your love is when I feel.
Hey, don't go anywhere. We got lots more with Yotam Ben Horin after a few words from our sponsors.
Hi, I'm Daniela Clark,
I'm Barbara Ann Wild.
and we are the Honest AF Show,
Our podcast is real, honest conversation with our celebrity friends and pros,
covering our anything but average rock and roll lifestyles.
all while tackling the hell that is aging and the battle of beauty.
Oh yeah, nothing is off the table.
The Honest AF Show is available wherever you get your podcasts.
See, was the love I found in you. Life is gone, mate. This is the new misery.
And now, back to the show.
Couple things here. Well, first of all, I want you to set up these lyrics if you can for us. I'll read them again. Scream out loud. Let yourself be heard. The cycle is never ending. There's a lesson to be learned.
Yeah, so the scream out loud part, obviously, that's to get everyone involved. Also musically, like the way the whole music is set up, scream out loud, whoa. So I have a feeling we kind of knew that if we would put that out, like scream out loud, whoa, so live it would work great. We had this thing that let's write an album that live would really work, that we'd have fun playing these songs live. So that was the intention behind that line.
I love songs that just things happen once. That whoa part never happens again. In fact, what I found was super interesting is verse 2 here, that we don't get another verse in this song. This is it. Which is strange because we're only at like 43 seconds in the song right now, and you don't get another verse.
Yeah, that's a weird song, weird structure. We probably wouldn't have written it this way if it was now. You know, now that we know some more. I don't even know if to call it tricks, but you know, we have like a certain way of writing songs. But yeah, this one was we kind of let the feel and music kind of lead it. And I have to mention that one of the big influences for this song is another band from Israel called Man Alive, that we were always influenced by each other since we met them in like 1999. So they would write like an album. We'd have kind of like a Beatles Beach Boys going on at a much smaller level and then punk rock. But yeah, and those guys are friends of ours until today. But so yeah, it was one of those things. They brought a few of those songs. They have this song on one of their albums called IRL. It's Raining Lies.
Realize it's raining lies. Finally saying, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm so believing, whoa, 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 whoa. I'm so believing, whoa, whoa, whoa.
So you could totally hear State of Fear kind of like mimicking some of that, but then we made it into our own thing. So I just wanted to mention that, give them some props.
Yeah, one other thing in verse 2 that is awesome, Yotam, is again, we get those octaves mimicking the melody on ending, there's a.
Cycle's never ending, there's a lesson to be learned.
And then we get into pre-chorus 2, which this is interesting because this is a double pre-chorus. The only time this happens in the song.
Yeah.
When we all know the answers, one question remains. How did we end up this way? When conviction will break them apart. How did we end up this way?
When we all know the answers, one question remains. How did we end up this way? The second half, the lyric changes. When conviction will break them apart, how did we end up this way? The melody on the first time, how did we end up this way? The melody changes there. The backing vocals right after that say, I'm waiting for the day, and it's super gruff. It's almost like this hardcore scream comes out of nowhere there. Whose idea was that?
That's Guy. I don't know if it was his idea, but that's him screaming over there. As far as all right, I'm sure you know this. Like when you're just writing a song and you're just kind of like fiddling with the lyrics, singing gibberish lyrics or whatever, I had the word conviction in there. I didn't want to like second guess it, so we just left it in. There wasn't any thought about that line.
Did you know you wanted this to be a double pre-chorus though here?
Yeah. Musically, we kind of went with the feel of it. You know how it is. You're writing a chorus. Sometimes you intuitively feel that you want the next one to be more, like the third one to be a double or whatever. So it was one of these things. But this is not even the chorus. This is like a pre-chorus, double pre-chorus.
Right, but again, I said earlier, this is like a chorus in itself.
Yeah.
It's so catchy and it's so anthemic and uplifting, and just the way that it's presented and the way you guys recorded it, it's like it's like you get two choruses in this song. It's awesome. Well, again, that second line, how do we end up this way? The melody changes there, and then on the second half here, on the line you were just speaking of, when conviction will break them apart, the octave guitars come in there, and I think it's awesome.
When conviction will break them apart, how did we end up this way?
And then the last line, how did we end up this way? Again, you're getting those unison and harmonies within there. It's the same. It's the same one that time, which I think is great. The band stops on the word way, and then there's, in my notes I wrote, it's a ka-cracka-cracka on the drums. Yeah. And that takes us into chorus number 1.
Don't wanna be a part of it anyway. I wasn't made to serve you anyway. With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere. With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere.
Don't want to be a part of it anyway. I wasn't made to serve you anyway. With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere. With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere.
That's just taking a stand for what we believe in. And eventually what it means that we believe in peace between people. And we believe in people getting along with people and not fighting over territories and not fighting over countries. So this is our little musical stand against it, and join us and be a part of it. Be a part of what we're talking about. Like, I don't want to be a part of it anyway, is what's happening outside of our little world, you know?
Yeah, I love the lyric here. I can feel the solidarity and what you're going for. I also love that this chorus is the intro progression, and it's halftime here, the feel of this. And as I said at the top, it's just driving, and the octaves are in on the chorus. After each line, you get the backing vocal. It's a gang vocal of whoa, oh, 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 that happens. On lines 1 and 3, it's the same last backing vocal note. But on the second line, it's a different note that happens, which is awesome. Again, those little things that just kind of shift your ear as you're listening. It's not cookie cutter, copy and paste. It's different. And on the last line, there's a different note for the word "oh," that gang vocal's happening before we get into the solo. Was that all worked out in the studio with Bill?
Many times, since I don't know how to read music. I use my instinct with music, and I know many of us do.
Sure.
So many of the times I would sing like a wrong harmony that, but it made sense musically in some way. It sounds good to my ears, but I don't know to tell you if it's a seventh or a ninth or a sus. Sometimes I do. So I think it may have been one of those situations where I kind of came in with an idea and Bill's like, oh, so you want to go for that thing? I know what you want to do. And he kind of sharpened my idea into that, what you're hearing.
You're making me laugh, Yotam, because I've been there in the studio before, and it's usually me and our bass player. I'll be in the vocal booth. He'll be trying to get me to do some harmony, and I keep singing the wrong harmony, and he's banging on the piano key. It's this, Chris. It's this. It's this. And finally, the only one classically trained that can read music in our band is our sax player, JR. And finally, he swivels around in his seat one day and looks at Roger and goes, dude, it's a seventh over or whatever. You can't do that.
Yeah, exactly.
So when you said that, I could fully relate. I just know what sounds good to my ear.
And I think that's a beautiful thing, because that way you think outside the box and you get your own take on music.
Right.
So Bill really wanted to go with that. So if he heard a weird harmony or like a jazzy harmony coming from me, and I don't even listen to jazz, so he's like, oh, he's doing that. Cool, So it's one of those things.
Right on. Well, when we go to the line with our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere, the whole feel here changes of the guitars. The stereo guitars go to a staccato feel, and one guitar is like panned off left. It's kind of doing like a counter melody rhythm that's happening there on the back half of this chorus.
With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere. With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere.
Again, something just a little different that just takes you someplace else. It's great.
Yeah, I think that's due to the fact that we were listening a lot to the band, you know, The Living End.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, we love The Living End. So they were doing all these like that kind of stuff where like one guitar's playing through and the other one's kind of doing that. So I have a feeling we kind of like took it from there. I don't remember who brought it in.
Well, it would have worked with the same strumming pattern for the first half of the chorus. It would have been just fine. But the fact that it's not, crazily different.
You know what? You're kind of refreshing my memory here. I think Guy came up with it. Because he always likes to do something different than, I mean, they both like to do something different than what the other is doing. That's, two guitar players. We don't really, normally in the choruses we double, but here we're not doubling each other.
Yeah, it's so, that part is awesome, and that leads right into a guitar solo. Back to the super fast punk rock drum beat. It's like a wah pedal guitar solo. It's pretty cool, but it's 6 bars. It's not like 4 bars or 8 bars. It kind of just, is a little jarring. And how did that come into play?
I think at that point it was just like, what do you go for, another verse here, or let's go somewhere else with this? Because as you probably noticed, there's not that many lyrics in this song. It's more about like the general feel of the song and the message. Kind of like a less is more type of thing, where we're not saying much, but we're saying enough for you to get the message across. So at this point, I think since in the record before this, there weren't many solos, since that was kind of like our Weezer phase, listening to a lot of Pinkerton and trying Moog stuff. So this one, we were like, okay, let's do some guitar solos this time. And we had this drummer that's on this record that he came from like a metal background. He just did this album with us. So he was like doing all these like metal fills and like coming from that world. So we're like, all right, so solos, why not?
Oh, no, well, the drums on this song are incredible. They're awesome. All the parts, as I've said numerous times, I think the drums are incredible. The groove is just from each part. It's its own thing. It doesn't get stale at all. And one more thing to mention, this guitar solo, yeah, it's featured, the wah effect on the guitar. It's a featured part. It's pretty loud, but the stereo guitars are still kicking your butt, and the octaves are here kind of panned off right too. It's really cool.
Wow. You're completely refreshing my memory, and I should have done my homework with listening to this song again.
No, that's what I always tell people. I'll do all the heavy lifting. All you gotta do is sit here and talk to me about it.
Yeah. Wow. So I think that was just us getting creative. Like, Guy was with Jason. Ishai was with Andrew at some point recording guitars. And they just kind of did their own thing. And I was just going along with it. I definitely wasn't playing producer on this album, even though I do produce. But I kind of like, first time at the blasting room, and the first time we were getting produced. So it's like I wanted to just let it happen.
That's awesome. Well, coming out of that guitar solo, we get into pre-chorus 3.
When we all know the answers, one question remains. How did we end up this way?
Which again, I'll say this is like a chorus. This happens 3 times. It's a it's a featured part because the lyric is awesome and it's so catchy. Again, the lyric is, when we all know the answers, one question remains. How did we end up this way? We get the harmonies on that last line again. And then that drum part again, ka-cracka-cracka, comes in to lead us into chorus number 2.
Do I don't be a part of it anyway? I wasn't meant to serve you anyway. With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere. With our hands held tight, no, we're not going anywhere.
This chorus is the same as chorus 1, which I like that about this. I like that you didn't differentiate here because you only get 2 choruses. This song is so anthemic, and I feel like if you would have stuck in a bunch of other words there, it wouldn't have the immediacy that this track has.
That's like another one of those things where some songs need that different lyric, but some of them are powerful enough by singing at the same time. Once again, the whole anthemic thing. You don't want your you don't want your people to need another set of lyrics that they'll have to remember if that's your chorus.
Right.
I think so. I mean, I would like to continue singing and not have someone look at me. What are you singing now? You're singing the wrong lyric here, dude. Like, at a live show.
Yeah, no, I've done that before where we want to be fancy and change up the 3rd chorus, and you look out and the kid's still singing chorus 2. It's like,
Exactly, yeah.
You probably should have
It's
kept
one of
that.
those.
I'm calling this next part a bridge/musical interlude. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, that's a bridge.
It's a bridge that's late in the game in the song because the only thing that comes after this is the outro, but this bridge is really cool. You're getting doubles on the snare drum. It's 8 bars of stereo guitars doing an ascending riff. Again, this riff is just driving with a single guitar providing a counter melody kind of noodle. Bars 9 through 16, there's these lush backing vocals that come out. I call them lush there because they're just loud and they just sound so pristine. It just kind of gives this, I don't even know what word I'd use, like an angelic feeling. Just kind of, it's awesome. Bars 12 through 16, there's this big drum buildup that leads into the outro.
It happens again, like it happened before. It happens again, no more. It happens again, like it happened before. It happens again, no more.
It happens again, like it happened before. It happens again, no more. It happens again like it happened before. It happens again, no more.
That's how it is being a citizen of Israel. These things keep happening. I don't know who's behind it. Like, you get certain ideas from the media, who did this and who that, but I never know. You never know. But it's just one of those things.
Well, there's harmonies on pretty much everything here, and the harmonies are just killer. And I say pretty much everything here. There's like 1 or 2 words here that are unison, but it's pretty much all harmonies. On the word again, in particular here, on line 2 and line 4, it's like, did Bill come up with that harmony? It sounds like a crazy Descendants, weird jazzy harmony. It is so good.
It happens again, no more.
I'll tell you, the thing with that, I don't think we were aware of it, but I could actually sing that part an octave higher. Which is what I do live because it's super low. So I think the lead vocal is super low, and then you got that jazzy harmony. So yeah, that's a Bill thing for sure.
On the words "No More" on the 2 and 4, the harmonies there are just absolutely killer. There's something haunting about these harmonies that take you out at the end of the song that you don't hear in the rest of the song.
I'm sure you did notice because you dissected the song, but the backing track is kind of like still giving a wink back to the beginning, just very much slower. It's the same chords underneath.
Yes.
Well, some of the same chords underneath it, at least the beginning. But yeah, as far as the harmony goes, that's Bill's doing. He kind of constructed that part for us.
It's so great. Well, the whole ending part here, this outro, it's kind of a halftime mosh feel. It's like the mosh part, big crash cymbal happening. The stereo guitars and bass guitar go to a staccato feel again with that octave guitar. And then after the vocals stop, this is really strange, and I counted this like 5 times. You know where I'm going here with this. Okay.
Yep.
It's like 7.5 bars, because like in the middle of it, there's this crazy turnaround that happens. It's not quite 8 bars. How did that happen? It's great.
Well, if memory serves correct, I think it was our drummer that was with us. I
was going to say, it's very metal.
Yeah, he was trying to put in all these like metal influenced ideas, you know, kind of like flipping the beat or flipping the rhythm or coming in at the wrong. I mean, I do that too, but not in this sense. From listening to it, it doesn't sound like something I would do, and I'd be fairly surprised if on the demo I did it. Maybe I did, but I have a feeling it's his doing.
It is awesome. And then the whole band's rocking out here, stereo guitars, bass, octaves, and drums, and the whole band ends on dun 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 dun.
Yeah, once again, the metal influence survives and has a victory at the end of the song.
It is awesome. And I got to ask you, when you play this in Israel, it's like a rallying cry. Do the fans just go nuts?
Yeah, they do. That's the song that has been closing our set since 2005. We've tried a few times to open with it and like place it differently in our set, but it kind of like, you know, people are expected to be the last song. I think every band has that one song that they're like, you know, you go off stage and everyone's like shouting that one. And then you don't do it, and then you do it.
And it's so funny how you try to be artsy, you know, later on in your career, like, yeah, we'll start off the set, or, hey, you know, let's be different. Let's throw it in the middle of the set. And then at some point you just throw your hands up and go, okay, we're playing the darn song at the end of the set every time. Let's just accept it.
I'll tell you what it turned into. It turned into that one song where someone from the crowd joins us on bass, and I'm just with the mic and, you know, stage diving into the crowd or something like that, or just jumping.
That's awesome. Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you sitting down with us today. This song is awesome. Congratulations on all your continued success. And if there's anything you'd like to leave the listeners with, this would be the time to do it.
First of all, thank you so much, Chris, for having me. I really enjoyed this. I have a new album out now called Young Forever on Double Helix Records, and Useless ID has some stuff on the way as well.
Awesome, man. Looking forward to it.
Thank you. Thank you so much.
Questioning ourselves, are we gonna be young forever? Gonna be young forever.
Hey everybody, I hope you all enjoyed that episode with my old friend Yotam. What you were just hearing is the title track from Yotam's solo album, Young Forever, and the song even features past Chris DeMakes a Podcast guest Jim Adkins of Jimmy Eat World. Pretty cool. Hey, we got to take a quick break, but don't go anywhere. We got lots more Chris DeMakes a Podcast coming after these quick words from our sponsors.
As we slowly drift apart, we keep pacing back to the start. We keep questioning ourselves, are we gonna be young forever?
What's up, everyone? This is Jay Reason, and I want to let you all know that Diablo Zen Podcast is now part of the Sound Talent Media family. Listen in as me and the one and only Danny Diablo, aka Lord Ezak, interview artists from the hardcore, punk, metal, hip-hop scenes and beyond. We have conversations with guests like actor Peter Green, DJ Muggs from Cypress Hill, LA street photographer Estevan Oriol, Jimmy G from New York City's legendary Murphy's Law, and pro wrestler Vampiro, to name a few. If you're a fan of good discussions and lots of laughs, tune in and join the fun.
Hey, if you need a unique, thoughtful, and inexpensive gift for a friend or loved one, check out iloveenamelpins.com. Make someone's day by giving them a little present to show you care. Over 80 different pins are available, everything from cats and dogs to your favorite celebrities. And to top it off, you can use the discount code DeMakes at checkout to save 30% on your order. iloveenamelpins.com. Give them something to wear that shows that you care.
As we near the end of the show, here's a band you might not know.
Welcome to this week's Band You Might Not Know. If you'd like your band to be considered for Chris DeMakes a podcast, all you have to do is email your best song via MP3 only and a short bio to bandyoumightnotknow@gmail.com. This week's featured artist is Pep Talk, a pop-punk band from New York, whose sound is heavily reminiscent of 90s-era Lookout Records. You can find them online at linktree/peptalkpunk. Here's a snippet of their song, Next to Me.
Here she comes, making a seat, my logically. She sat next to me. Yeah, she sat next to me. I guess I better sit up straight.
The Wrap with Chris and Chris.
Chris, I was super excited for this episode. I am such an enormous fan of this band. I became a fan of this band because we toured together in Japan, and we just came home from that tour being like, oh my God, this band is amazing. And this album is amazing. And it wasn't until years later that I realized, oh, they did this at the Blasting Room with Bill, which totally makes sense because it sounds incredible.
Yeah, no, even when we got done recording, I was just like, man, I don't just say this in the episode to, make my guests feel good. I told Yotam, this song is a ripper. Such a great track. And the lyric, it really drives it home.
Yeah. I mean, this album is full of pop gems is the way I would put it. There's songs that I love, just amazing melodies, great lyrics, such a great live band. I know I'm going overboard, but I can't say enough great things about this band. This song is kind of the outlier. This is like a heavy rockin', you kept saying like it pummels you, it knocks you over type of song that they close their sets with. And I thought it was even more interesting to hear his perspective of, what it was about. That's when Yotam and I were going back and forth about what song they should do. I was glad. I didn't really want to suggest it because I didn't know if he wanted to talk about it, but I was really happy when he said he wanted to talk about it because I think it's important for people to hear about that.
I do too, and that's why I had asked him. I said, what are the fans? This has to be like their rallying cry. It's like, oh yeah, and that's why it's played at every show since the song was released, and it's played last because this is their hit. And I mentioned to him that the song just wouldn't be the same with just some run-of-the-mill lyric. The song's great. The melodies are great, but it's the lyric, and I got to hand it to the drummer. It was interesting. The drummer only played on this record, but he brought that metal influence, just the flourishes and the way that he approached this song and how, it had that 7.5 bar turnaround at the end, which is a very metal thing. It's great.
Yeah. I thought it was cool that you talked about the same world problems that just never go away. I mean, they've been here before we were here. Unfortunately, I think they're going to be here after we're here. I hope I'm wrong about that, but unfortunately, I'm probably not. You're talking about religion and greed and politics and everything that goes on, when if you step away from that stuff, you realize that we're all kind of the same. I mean, to me, this is the most common sense. And to me, this is also one of the things about punk rock that make me like it so much, the community aspect of it, that you're in this room, and when you're in this room, it doesn't matter where you're from or what your background is, we're all the same, and we're in this together. And I think the world could learn a lot from the world of punk rock.
Absolutely. I said it was both heartbreaking and heartwarming that, fans right across the border will write the band and be fans of them and say that we love you and we hate all of this too. We're all one human race here. And it's just, when he spoke of the super fan of the band that was used to be in the front row and she loses her life in a bus bombing. That's just, I can't even fathom that. And I think it's a cool thing that Fat Mike, went out on the limb and said, hey, why don't you write about this?
Right.
Because they could have been like, nah, we're not that kind of a band. But they took the chance and it paid off because I think the lyric is so real. I mean, even if you don't live in that state of fear or are from there, you can relate to this on some level, certainly as a punk rock fan.
Yeah. And something, on a more lighthearted thing I related to is how Yotam talked about how he probably wouldn't have written it in this arrangement if he wrote it now. He's become more seasoned of a songwriter, and you kind of learn more about the art of songwriting. But when you're younger, there is something charming about being a raw, young, unseasoned songwriter. Chris, you know it firsthand. Some of your early songs from Less Than Jake are still fan favorites, and I guarantee that you wouldn't write them the same way now that you did back then.
No, there's something about that thing that idea that you throw out there. You don't let it cook for too long. We didn't have money to. It's like, here's the song, record it, go. We're on to the next song. And those initial ideas are sometimes the best thing you can come up with. The other thing, Chris, that I love that he talked about was being whipped into shape by Bill in the studio. I could totally relate to that, and I can't say that I liked it at first. The first time I was beaten down in the studio, but I grew to love it because it's made it so much more effortless for me to get in a vocal booth these days. It's not a nightmare that it once was.
I didn't know what I was getting into the first time we worked with an actual producer, because we had recorded with engineers, but it's a whole different ballgame when you're working with a producer, when you're deconstructing the songs and putting them back together, and that can A, be intimidating, and B, sometimes be frustrating. But I haven't had one time where I haven't walked away learning something, as my bandmates did too,
That's right. And if you, the listeners, want to learn something, you could join our supporting cast over at ChrisDeMakes.com, where you get bonus episodes of the After Party each week for the price of a cup of coffee, Chris.
I set you up, and I was hoping you were going to... I threw you that softball pitch. I was hoping you were going to knock it out of the park, and you did, because if not, I was going to do it. But yes, if you like to learn and you like to laugh, and you just enjoy the company of Chris and I talking about music, the After Party podcast is for you. Go to ChrisDeMakes.com. There's a giant back catalog of episodes. You can listen to episodes every day for months and months before you'll get caught up, and you'll have fun the entire time you do, because that is our intention with that, is to have some fun and give you some knowledge. The After Party podcast. And there are a few episodes that we've put in the main feed. So if you want to see a little sample of what we do on the After Party, you can check those out. And then you can go right to ChrisDeMakes.com. And for the cost of, I don't know, a beer, you can have a bunch of awesome episodes and support the podcast that you love.
And thanks, Chris. You didn't throw me a softball. You lobbed me the Goodyear blimp, and I tried to hit it out of the park as best as I could. And if you haven't joined our Facebook group, the Chris DeMakes a Podcast Facebook group, please do. It's free to join. We love to have you. Tons of interaction. It's good times. Give me a follow on Instagram at LessThanChrisD. And I want to thank this week's guest, Mr. Yotam Ben Horin from Useless ID, and we'll see you next week.
Hey, this is Scott from Fly on the Call. Each week I speak to a different musician, whether they're in an established band like Silverstein or the Wonder Years, or a band on the rise like Spanish Love Songs, Origami Angel, or Meet Me at the Altar. We discuss music and lyrics, the successes and challenges of being in a band, and more, as we get to the core of each artist. The show features musicians of diverse genres and backgrounds, so there's always a chance I'll be talking to your new favorite band. Listen and subscribe at soundtalentmedia.com.
Hi, this is Paul Phelps.
And this is Monica Strutt.
And we're from the Daily Music Business Podcast. We're joined by a number of other really great hosts in creating daily content with great advice for independent musicians just like you.
That's right. We put out episodes daily on all topics from music marketing to branding, advice on signing with a manager and label, and anything else you need to up-level the business side of your music career. We've got it covered.
Subscribe to the Daily Music Business Podcast today on your favorite podcast catcher.
Subscribe today to the Daily Music Business Podcast on your favorite podcast platform.